Joining us now in the studio, Jalas, the man himself. When we're talking plastics. Today is the day that all plastic bags are banned in Kenya. Andrew Amadi joins us in the studio here to talk about what this is all about, whether this thing will work at all. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Those of you who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a chemical engineer and also a certified energy manager. And my commitment and dedication is towards sustainability in terms of access to energy, security, and reliability.
Oh, that is too much for me to understand. What I want to understand
is plastic.
For now. Was this? I know you'd want to try and justify that hii kesi ilianza kitambo na hii mambo ati wa Kenya wanasema it has been rushed, it has been moved very fast.
Yes.
It's been
fast tracked.
It's been fast tracked. It cannot work. How long has this been this discussion been going on?
The discussion has actually been going on for quite a number of years. I think if we remember, as far back as maybe 2008, 2009 was the first time that there was a proposal to ban the use of plastic bags in Kenya. And it resulted in an excise duty being imposed on all plastic products. So the conversation, the discussion has been going on for, I would say, at least more than 10 years.
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years.
So this day, August 28, 2017, and the effect on the ban, will it work, Andrew?
I think the question is not whether it will work or not, but how it will work, because it's a matter of fact that it has come into effect. So that's a reality that we have to start to live with. Now, how it will be implemented, of course, will be quite a process. It will not be instantly a solution to the plastics problem, that's for sure, because even the plastics that's been there for the last 20 years is still going to be there in the environment. So how the response will be, a lot of it will depend on, number one, the coordination of the activities that are required to find a solution. First of all, I would like to say that you really do actually welcome this ban, because it starts a very important conversation about what we need to do, not just about plastic, but about solid waste management in general. And it automatically triggers a series of actions and events that can now ultimately lead to what we all desire. I don't think anybody wants to have plastic in our environment. That's a problem, and all the negative effects are very well known to us. However, it's also a convenience that we have. I would say globally, not just here, we've become addicted to plastic. We almost cannot do without it. So we have to be able to learn how to manage it and how to be able to make it work for us without it harming us, and more important, without it harming the future.
Wow. A quick one, Bwana engineer. Is a certified engineer. Chemical engineer. When you say plastic, and in this ban, what are the ones that have been banned? What categories? Because plastics are so much. Kuna mtu alikuwa anasema, sasa jamani, hii soda yetu tutakuwa tunabeba wapi? Mimi mama wa Getheri nitakuwa nawakea watu Getheri wapi? Sisi watu wa supermarket and everything. Which ones are in the first category of what has been banned? And that from today, if you're seen with it, you're contradicting the law.
No, sister, how flying toilets?
Flying toilets pia. Anyway, si ukai kitusuru na maji yenyu. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the categories banned are two categories. That is the plastic carrier bags and the flat bags. The carrier bags is a bag that has handles, and the flat bags is just the plastic bag that can be used as secondary packaging. So what is not banned is the plastic material that is used for primary packaging.
So bottles.
So bottles are not included in the plastic.
Jars.
That is primary packaging.
Jars.
Yeah. And it only covers polythene bags, to be specific.
So kama hizi za supermarket zimetolewa?
Hizo zimetolewa.
Zote.
Zote.
Wow. Na hii flat ni gani? Hiyo flat hapa umenipoteza pia.
Hizo ni kama zile zinazotumiwa ukinunua kwa market and you just get the bag that doesn't have the handles. That's
Ya githeri kama ile
kama
githeri.
hiyo ya githeri.
Plastic toilet.
Nini, Jeff?
No, it's important.
Okay, so flat doesn't have handles.
Right.
And carrier ni
bags.
ya supermarket.
Yes.
So flat ni kama hizi za kuwekewa githeri, ya kufungiwa mboga,
Yes.
ya kukatiwa nyanya ndani, hizi zenye watu. Okay, basi sasa nimegundua. Watu wamekuja kutumaliza. Sisi kama watu wa chini. Do you use plastics at home, you carriers?
Well, when I go shopping, of course I have to use, see, that's how they pack the
Do
shopping.
you use the flat one?
All the time, yeah.
Where?
When I'm wrapping stuff, to put in the fridge, those are...
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Sandwich bags. I mean, what about those?
Oh, sandwich. Yeah, yes,
There's been a lot of opposition from manufacturers, Andrew. Lots of opposition.
Yes.
Is this going to work? Because obviously Kenyans want this to work because plastics have been a disaster. But there's going to be a lot of resistance as well.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Well, for one, the argument that the manufacturers have made is actually a lot on the side of the impact it will have both on the industry in terms of the job losses, the economic repercussions of the ban, but also on the issue of waste management in general. That is where the failing is. So our problem is more of a littering and a dumping problem rather than as a problem of the material plastic itself. And therein comes the opportunity, and where people like myself and others who are involved in the recycling of plastic comes in. That's a secondary industry that the parameters have not been entirely favorable without the ban. And paradoxically, the ban makes it actually more attractive now to enter into the recycling of plastics, because the next logical step is, where will the plastic go? There are many people who have been hoarding plastic, who for whatever reasons choose not to throw their plastic into the environment. So now that has become contraband. What are they going to do with that plastic? There's a dead stock from all the shops. I can almost categorically say every shop, kiosk, supermarket, petrol station, everybody that is selling retail is holding some plastic. What's going to happen to all this plastic? If we throw this plastic into the environment, we have the exact opposite effect of what we're trying to achieve. We're getting more plastic into the environment. If we do the other thing that people are considering, I talked to a supermarket yesterday and they said they're going to ban it. That is even worse, because the environmental impact of banning plastic is you're going to produce hazardous chemicals. You're going to leave a trail of organic substances that will seep into the ground that will be difficult to take out of the environment. So what we're urging people is, let's come up with systems that will work. Like you said earlier, what's going to work? What's going to work is get the county governments involved. Secure this plastic. The moment you start to secure this plastic and then send out a signal to the recyclers that we will make this plastic available to you. As a recycler myself, what I'd say is very simple. 6 shillings a kilo, no questions asked. We'll buy all the plastic and we'll recycle it, and technologically and with the right amount of investment, we can clear all this waste plastic backlog in 5 to 7 years.
Recycle it into what?
Into fuel.
Hey, fuel to be used in?
For diesel generators, SGR train, public transport. We can recycle the plastic. Now, let me bore you a little bit. I know we don't like to talk about chemistry.
Yes.
Please, give me some chemistry, maybe him.
Yeah.
So what did you get in chemistry?
A strong D+, but it was still strong. Underline strong.
Yes. You're almost C-.
Give me some
Go
chemistry.
on, Andrew.
Yeah. So the technical name for plastic is they're actually polymers. So we have ethylene or polyethylene. The process of producing it is polymerization. Now, the reverse of that process, we all know that, well, plastic comes from crude oil. We get it from oil, from petroleum products, which are hydrocarbons. So when you subject that to the polymerization process, which is basically through a catalyst, you produce the polymers, which are the plastics. Now, the reverse of that, if I can call it so, is called pyrolysis. So you can be able to reverse that process with the polymers and get it back into the hydrocarbons, which is now your petroleum product.
It's just the reverse.
It's a reverse.
The reverse of
Polymerization to pyrolysis.
Back to hydro. Back to hydro.
Hydropolythene.
Hydrocarbon.
Hydrocarbon. Which is again crude oil.
Yeah.
Which can still make diesel.
Yes.
Jeff, I told you, let us go to school. You refuse. You refused.
Ile D+.
You see, angalia pali watu wako. Sisi tunapiga kelele hapa.
Ati.
People are discussing on how to
reverse plastic
into
back to fuel.
To fuel. Sisi ni kufinya vitu hapa na kuongea. Mungu shuka jamani. So all said and done.
Yes.
All said and done. This ban has come at the right time, is it?
I would say so. I think it has come at the right time. It's going to cause a lot of inconvenience and a lot of discomfort. But out of discomfort and inconvenience, I think we're able to achieve something great. And even for the manufacturers, it is not an end of the opportunity. If we did this, if we got committed, if we invested, and it's not as much as we're imagining, if we invested into this process and got this plastic out of the environment and said we're even going to, for the one that is hidden under the soil, we will now mine it out of the environment, and we were clear and there was no plastic, then we would have a system that would be able to accommodate and cater for the comfort or the convenience that the material brings, and those industries that have been set up can, because this ban, as much as, yes, we do have to do something about it, but if we can demonstrate, if we can take it out and show that we can manage this product effectively, then we will be able to say reasonably that, yes, we might consider that this is something that we've already handled, that we can be able to do.
One engineer.
Yes.
But are we ready? Do we have the recycling plant ready? Do we? Where are we going to take? If we say that now the ban is here,
yes.
Okay, what do we do with our plastic? Where do we drop them? Is there a recycling plant? Are we ready for this?
There are already a number of recycling plants, or plants that are recycling plastic, both into fuel and others into materials. But the capacity is not enough. It will require investment. And this is where the part of preparedness argument comes in, that whatever options we're looking at within the 6 months from February when the ban was announced until this moment, the most that people can be able to do is to identify external sources of alternatives, because there are two issues here. There's the alternatives to the primary packaging, and there are many alternatives. I think it's been discussed and exhausted. There's paper, there's harder material that can be reused over and over, there's cloth. There are many options to that part of it. But if we were to look at setting up our own industries, for example, to revive the paper industry, to set up a plant takes 2 years. Plants they're not sold off the shelf. You have to make an order, wait for it to be made, have it shipped, installed. It takes 2 years. So the whole process of migrating will take time. So it's not something that, because the ban has been put into effect, that even the recycling plants will just drop in. Once the ban has been put into effect, once people identify, and this is where I will appeal to particularly the county governments, dedicate places where you can be able to just store the plastic. It's not going to go anywhere for 200 years. People like myself, other people who are looking for opportunities to invest, can invest in the recycling. Once they see, the biggest challenge that some of the investors in this area have is, they ask the question, can you be able to secure the plastic that you require for these plants to run? Are we going to put our money and there's no plastic? And the answer is absolutely yes. So if people can be able to submit or present their plastic to the county governments, if county governments can allocate places where people can be able to deliver the plastic that they are holding, whether they are commercial, retail, or domestic users, if they can be assured that when you are delivering your plastic to be recycled, you are not going to be prosecuted, then we have a good chance to be able to set up the industries that we require. That will not take long. It might take maybe 6 months to a year to have the recycling capability that will completely solve this problem. And my commitment, my challenge is that let's not do this piecemeal. let's do a comprehensive solution. Let's go for the whole thing. Let's get rid of all the plastic in the environment and create a sustainable use of the materials that we have.
Absolutely. Wow. Benjin Dolo, he said, by the way, Amadi went to St. Mary's. No,
Why you at St. Mary's?
Guilty as charged.
Mi Benjin Dolo amesema si mimi.
Okay. But what happened to you?
Well, I was left punching buttons. Alafu Zablon amesema, Jalas turudi shule, I teach you some polymerization and esterification.
We'll take a quick break.
Indeed, plenty more ahead. This is a fascinating conversation.
I'm telling you, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Yes. Very, very deep. And more so when somebody you actually know
what he's talking about. Unlike you.
No.
We're having a very interesting conversation here because today, August 28th, plastic bags are officially banned in Kenya. I say that again. Plastic bags are officially banned in Kenya. Joining us in the studio, if you're just joining us now, it's Andrew Amadi, engineer mwenyewe, chemical nini.
Polymerization.
The
process is marginalization.
No.
That's a different thing. Okay.
Andrew, the question I was asking is, when Jalas and I walk out of here at 10 o'clock and one of us is carrying a plastic bag.
Kama yako ndani ya suti.
Yes. Could we be in trouble? Could we be arrested?
Yes.
What's the fine?
The fine is 4 million shillings.
Just to be seen with a plastic or
carrying a plastic bag.
Una kiondo?
Kiondo lazima. Sasa mambo ni kiondo.
Na kikapu.
Mafuko bombas. Unajua mafuko? You don't know mafuko? You remember the brown, ilikuwa brown, sukari ilikuwa inawekwa ndani.
Yes.
Alafu inakunjwa. Inawekewa sticker. Hiyo inaitwa mafuko. Mafuko. Mafuko was I think it's still a very, very big company.
It's still there.
It's still a very big company.
Right.
That deals with paper.
Yeah. Bottom line, Andrew, is the incentive there for the people to make this a success? Is it there?
Personally, I look at it this way, that sometimes those incentives, in terms of, if we're looking at it from, say, the point of view of managing and recycling, sometimes those incentives tend to work against the solutions. I'll give an example that about 11 years ago, we lobbied to have all the levies on and duty on solar panels removed so that we could be able to have the panels cheaper, and that was done, and you took out 16 to 31 or 41% of the cost, but technology dropped down that cost by 7 times. So the cost dropped by almost more than 10 times within a period of a very short time. So I think personally, and this is my own opinion, that innovation can be a much better driver to getting sustainable solutions than incentives. We've been having this back and forth in the last 10 years. It's been around the incentives. It's been around converting the excise duty to a levy so that the levy can be used to pay for the recycling. So what we've been doing, what my colleagues and I have been working on, is finding the right business model that will be able to work within the parameters as they are. And it's there.
This is one you're explaining, 6 shillings a kilo.
6 shillings a kilo.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. You can imagine how many boys would be
and how many
there.
jobs?
For every 10 tons of plastic that is collected and processed, it creates 500 jobs.
Wow.
Every year we are importing about, not every year. Let me give the figure that I'm aware of. That is the 2015, we imported about 47,000 tons of the pellets that are used to make plastic. That's the polymer pellets. 47,000 tons of that. So that translates roughly to about 100 tons per day.
Whoa.
So recycling this amount, assuming, well, of course, that you still have a backlog. This has been going on for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But if you say what can be economically recovered, is probably what was generated in the last 5 to 10 years. Okay. So you have quite a bit of backlog, maybe towards 500,000 tons. So if you're going to say for every 10 tons you're creating, well, of course, 10 tons per day, you're creating 500 jobs. If you're processing about 100 tons, then there you have it. You have your 50,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow. Wow.
Actually, 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
Wow. So from today, the plastic bags, carriers, the flat carriers, the handle carriers are banned.
If someone was smart right now, Andrew, and they say, you know what, I'm going to create that plant. I'm going to build that plant, recycling plant.
Or plants.
Yes. Or plants.
Yes.
What are we talking? What's amount of money would take to build a sustainable plant and get your money back within 3-5 years?
Ballpark figures, we're talking about
Yes.
100 million shillings for maybe a 20-ton per day plant.
20 ton per day.
Yes.
And you get your money back?
Within 3 to 5 years, yes.
And it doesn't have to be in the major count. I mean, several counties can get together and build a plant, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the plastic occurs as a problem in urban areas. You're not hearing much about plastic in the rural areas. Yes, it is a problem. It's affecting agriculture. It's affecting fisheries. It's affecting so many things. But the concentration of plastic is mostly in urban areas. So if you take the major urban centers in Kenya, that's of course your Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret, the big cities, the bigger towns, Nakuru, and you can be able to actually measure the distance beyond which it is not economically sensible to transport waste, and within that circumference, you can be able to now say, okay, here is a location where we can be able to have plants. So it can actually turn into an incentive. Instead of 4 years in jail, that's the stake. You could give a carrot 6 shillings a kilo. And you have the same, well, you have I think you will have more plastic taken out by incentive rather than punishment.
Yeah.
How many people will be able to afford that 4 million shillings? How many prisons do we have to be able to put in all the people that will be in violation just by having plastic?
And who's supposed to implement that? Is it
Implementation of waste management or implementation of this particular ban will fall with the county governments.
County government.
So ni askari wa kanjo
Yes.
ndio wakikupata na polythene.
Yes.
What?
They've got new powers.
I'm telling you, this thing has been devolved.
What happens to people like Githeri man or the Githeri sellers? What happens to, what are they going to serve it in?
Yeah. Now that debate is going on around that because primary packaging is not banned by the ban on plastic bags. So the argument is it primary packaging when it's industrial, but not if it's on the side of the road? Because it's still putting the food inside a container.
Yes.
So the issue of whether it's packaging or not might, or the definition of industrial process might be, is it sealed or not? Is it labeled or not? So if Githeriman, and maybe this is an opportunity for him and somebody else, brands it and seals it, then it's not a problem. But if it's open and sold out, then the argument is that is in violation of the regulation. And then the other issue that comes, which is very pertinent into this discussion, is the issue of hygiene. What are you going to carry it in? Because you cannot put wet githeri in your kiondo. You cannot put it in your paper.
No.
You can put it in a container. You can carry a container and anticipate your need to eat githeri. But is it washed? Is it clean? Are you going to get sick because it is not hygienic?
Hygienic, yeah.
The issues of diapers. How are you going to throw away diapers without sealing them? What the contamination that is possible from having diapers thrown into the environment or handled by people who are disposing of it. They're being exposed to disease directly. So there are some of these issues. There's medical waste has also been discussed. Yeah. How are you going to put samples of blood-stained cotton wool directly into a container, and somebody has to handle that with their hands? So those issues have been discussed, and there was a clarification, I think, in the last week that the garbage disposal and the medical waste will be exempted under this. But knowing, or the question that people are grappling with is, the regulation as it was published has not been changed. So the interpretation of that regulation may not trickle down even into the court system. It may not stand because it is a flat bag and it is banned and you have it and you're charged. So there is probably need for more clarity about how exactly some of these areas will be implemented.
Yeah, Jalas, if you're caught with your plastic bag outside here, just tell them it's medical waste.
Hey.
Ambia kanjoni medical waste.
Medical waste na uwe naona ni imeandikwa suit. or is your suit medically
a waste?
Wow. Your final thoughts on this, moving forward.
Yeah. Well, my final thoughts on this is a call to change. It's actually, and I do commend the Cabinet Secretary for taking this really bold and controversial. It is not an easy decision. I'm sure she's a very well-balanced person, and this was very carefully considered, and it is a call to change in our culture around how we handle our own environment. My thoughts about this and my reason for doing this, it is a lot about us now, but what about the future? What about children or people for 100 years from now, when they look at the mess that we created? Gratefully, we will not need archaeologists to unravel how we were thinking. They will just go to our Facebook posts and to see what we were discussing about this. And they will ask the question, what were you thinking? What were you doing? You had the solutions. Why did you leave us with this mess? When Kenya has 50 million people and we have exhausted our arable land and we now have to find, and we've littered it with inert material that cannot produce, that inhibits growth. What are we going to tell them? What will they think of us? So that's my commitment to that future, that we can be able to, at the very least, leave this place better than we found it. We have the knowledge, we have a debt of duty to be able to fix it the best way that we can.
And it takes all hands on deck.
All hands on deck.
Yeah.
We take everybody. As much as you're talking about the D+ in chemistry, it is not a technological problem. It is a communication problem.
It's also a mental problem.
It's a mental problem. How do you get into the mind is through communication.
Wow. Jalas, it's mental.
It has been a
very fascinating lesson.
A chemistry
polymerization
is the process whereby.
Correct. You can use that phrase now.
Oh.
If you're ever wondering, when will I ever use this?
Yes.
It's the process whereby.
Whereby. It's the polymerization. It's the process whereby plastic is recycled into carbon.
Hydrocarbons. Yes.
Which is fuel. This will be managed by the county government.
It takes all hands on deck. Andrew Amadi, thank you so much for your time. This has been very enlightening and informative and fascinating.
Wow.
Watch out. Do not carry plastic bags.
Thank you so much. We wish you well with this journey. We wish you well with your research and everything that you've been trying to put together as we move forward to a plastic-free nation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amadi.
Joining us now in the studio, Jalas, the man himself. When we're talking plastics. Today is the day that all plastic bags are banned in Kenya. Andrew Amadi joins us in the studio here to talk about what this is all about, whether this thing will work at all. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Those of you who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a chemical engineer and also a certified energy manager. And my commitment and dedication is towards sustainability in terms of access to energy, security, and reliability.
Oh, that is too much for me to understand. What I want to understand
is plastic.
For now. Was this? I know you'd want to try and justify that hii kesi ilianza kitambo na hii mambo ati wa Kenya wanasema it has been rushed, it has been moved very fast.
Yes.
It's been
fast tracked.
It's been fast tracked. It cannot work. How long has this been this discussion been going on?
The discussion has actually been going on for quite a number of years. I think if we remember, as far back as maybe 2008, 2009 was the first time that there was a proposal to ban the use of plastic bags in Kenya, and it resulted in an excise duty being imposed on all plastic products. So the conversation, the discussion has been going on for, I would say, at least more than 10 years.
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years.
So this day, August 28, 2017, and the effect on the ban, will it work, Andrew?
I think the question is not whether it will work or not, but how it will work, because it's a matter of fact that it has come into effect. So that's a reality that we have to start to live with. Now, how it will be implemented, of course, will be quite a process. It will not be instantly a solution to the plastics problem, that's for sure, because even the plastics that's been there for the last 20 years is still going to be there in the environment. So how the response will be, a lot of it will depend on, number one, the coordination of the activities that are required to find a solution. First of all, I would like to say that you really do actually welcome this ban, because it starts a very important conversation about what we need to do, not just about plastic, but about solid waste management in general. And it automatically triggers a series of actions and events that can now ultimately lead to what we all desire. I don't think anybody wants to have plastic in our environment. That's a problem, and all the negative effects are very well known to us. However, it's also a convenience that we have. I would say globally, not just here, we've become addicted to plastic. We almost cannot do without it. So we have to be able to learn how to manage it and how to be able to make it work for us without it harming us, and more important, without it harming the future.
Wow. A quick one, Bwana engineer. Is a certified engineer.
Chemical.
A chemical engineer. When you say plastic, and in this ban, what are the ones that have been banned? What categories? Because plastics are so much. Kuna mtu alikuwa anasema, sasa jamani, hii soda yetu tutakuwa tunabeba wapi? Mimi mama wa Getheri nitakuwa nawakea watu Getheri wapi? Sisi watu wa supermarket and everything. Which ones are in the first category of what has been banned, and that from today, if you're seen with it, you're contradicting the law?
No, sister, how flying toilets?
Flying toilets pia. Anyway, si ukai kitusuru na maji yenyu. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the categories banned are two categories. That is the plastic carrier bags